I've been getting a lot of questions as to how to do a proper water change, so since we needed to do some work on the 40 gallon today, I figured it would be a good opportunity to make a video. Before we get started, I want to talk about what tools we're going to use. One of the primary tools that we're going to use is a siphon. There's a couple of different varieties. This is the one we've been using for a long time here. We just got the Python system here, and we're going to be hooking it up to the sink and using that today. But I will show you how to use this as well. Another very important tool is your sponge. They do make sponges specifically for tanks. We found that these guys you can get that are all natural kitchen sponges. Make sure you rinse them out really well, and they seem to work quite nicely. For getting in little crevices, getting algae off of rocks, things like that, good old-fashioned toothbrush works great. If you have live plants in your tank, having a set of shears is really, really handy, as well as a pair of long tweezers or forceps. They make several different varieties, and you'll have to decide which one works best for you. One other vital piece of equipment in every fish keeper's room is the bucket, used for everything from putting dirty water into, removing old rocks and substrate, things like that. Having one or two of these around at all times is always handy. Before we actually start cleaning our tank, we want to make sure that we have all of our electrical equipment turned off. This includes our heaters, our air pumps, and our filtration systems. Before we get started on the actual cleaning, we need to make sure that we take off our lid, and in this case, my front light here. So I'm going to get started on that, and we'll be right back. Now that we've got everything all set up, I do have to take care of some hair algae that I have growing along the base of some of my plants. So I'm going to take care of that, and we'll be right back. Now that I've taken care of all the hair algae that I have along the bottom, it's time to start actually cleaning the main body of the tank, especially in the glass. Before I do that though, I want to bring up the intakes on most filters have something like this that is basically a strainer. Because I happen to have a fair amount of small fish and shrimp, I like to use a pre-filter. There are several different kinds out there, and you can check with your local fish shop to see which one will work best for you. And then it just slides onto the end like that. And now we'll go ahead and get started cleaning the glass. And if you have any snails, you can just slide them out of the way. So now that it's time to start doing our gravel cleaning, first of all I'm going to show this one, and then we're going to start on with the Python. So this is what we commonly refer to as a gravel vac. Got a siphon end and a loose end there. I like to put a weight on the end of it, and that helps keep it in our bucket. They're not terribly hard to use, but they do take a little bit of practice. You put your hose in like that and let it fill up. You notice water start to come up to about here. If you lift it up until it starts to flow and then bring it right back down again, water will start to flow into the bucket. If you notice, I've crimped it with my hand. And then that will allow us to control it better as we go along. With most types of gravel, you'll actually put this all the way into the gravel and suck up all the fish waste. With this type of gravel, where it's much sharper and sits closer together, you'll actually just go right along the top, and just barely touching it, making small circles, and moving right along the top, because that's where that waste will sit. And if a snail, for instance, happens to start to make its way up, you can just crimp off the hose again and it will stop. Now that we've cleaned our glass, we've removed any algae, and we've vacuumed our substrate, we've got all of our water put back in. Tank is looking really good. You will notice some cloudiness typically right after you change your water. That should go away probably within an hour or two, and your water should start looking crystal clear again. Now is a good time to make sure that any detritus, any floating debris, especially if you have live plants, a lot of times they'll be floating up near the surface. You can either remove them by hand or grab your fish net, works really well, and just take that opportunity to scoop it all up and get rid of it. At this point, if there's anything that you feel like rearranging, good time to do it as well. Now is also a good time to talk about our filters. If you're using a filter that uses sponges, with any of your wastewater, you can squish the sponge out in that. There's a bit of controversy in the hobby about whether to rinse them off in fresh water or in your dirty tank water. I always just rinse mine off in the sink. We have 7 tanks in the house and we've never had a problem with it. So that's what we do. You can do it however you choose. Basically, the main goal is to keep as much of your beneficial bacteria as possible within the tank. So I guess now we can put our lid back on, start up our filter, turn on our heaters, and sit back and enjoy our aquariums.